Ever thought about the tough choices police officers make daily? What happens when the line between duty and personal relationship blurs? Today, we're exploring the emotional whirlwind officers face when they have to arrest someone they call a friend. Hang tight. These tales are gonna blow your mind. Hey everyone, welcome back to Crime Highlight. Imagine being a cop and suddenly hearing a buddy's name crackling over the radio. Wild, right? Today, we're jumping into those oh no they didn't moments when police officers find out they've got to slap cuffs on someone they know all too well. Kicking things off with number 1, Buck Preston. In September 2022, a Florida deputy pulled over a man by the name of Buck Preston for driving without a driver's license. One downside of living in a tiny town, pretty much know everyone. In the video, the officer who pulled Buck over is clearly familiar with him.
Damn, Michael. You ain't got a driver.
Buck even addresses the officer as Michael, indicating that he knows him by first name. The officer claims Buck has been spotted driving a Chevy pickup, but nearly every cop in the small towns know that Buck has no driver's license, as it has been suspended with other felony charges attached to his name.
Buck? What?
You ain't got... So how does Buck wiggle out of this one and explain to his buddy why he's driving without a license, just to dodge those handcuffs?
Listen, son, I'm telling you, I'm just trying to tell you something. Listen.
Buck claims that his friend was the one driving but ditched near a lake. Crazy, right? He went on to say he didn't want to leave the truck on the road to avoid an accident, so it was better that he drove it home without a license than leave it there. The officer threw out the idea of having someone else with a license drive Buck around, but as you might guess, Buck wasn't thrilled with that plan.
But I'm gonna tell you right now, I could not leave.
I don't know if the officer was at the point of believing what Buck was trying to claim. Well, not until he asked about the oysters he had on his pickup truck. It was at this moment he knew he had been caught.
Never would. When'd y'all get these oysters?
So the cops dead set on cuffing Buck, right? And in the video, you see them heading over to the police car. Then out of nowhere, Buck gets this wild idea to just bolt. Where he thought he was going beats me.
Buck, I'm not playing this game. Buck.
He was then chased down and caught by the officer who cuffed him, and he was taken to the patrol vehicle. But still, Buck couldn't resist the urge to keep talking. Even though the chase was super short, this little stunt just stacked into his already long list of troubles. Seriously, what was he thinking? Not a smart move, I would say.
Over driving? Dog, you can...
Pretty pissed on the drive back to the station, Buck decided to make the conversation personal.
Under this, I don't talk to you about your mama.
Buck Preston was charged with felony driving with a suspended license, to which he was a habitual suspender, and he was also charged with felony resisting arrest. His bond was set to $0. He was sentenced to 3 months, 16 days jail term, and 3 years probation. There are many cops who forget to follow the rules, just like Corporal Scott Bertzig did on New Year's Eve.
Want to go back over there? I'll come get your info in just a second.
All right, thanks.
So,
Reached out for my...
Gainesville Police Department Corporal Scott W. Bertzig was driving near 6200 West Newberry Road in Gainesville, Florida on January 1st, 2021, when he reached for his lighter and crashed into a vehicle that had just begun to move at a green traffic light. So, when Officer Brooks rolled up to that accident scene, she knew she'd see the usual faces. But man, she totally didn't see it coming when she spotted not just her boss, but also one of her cop buddies right in the middle of it all. Scott was not hesitant to explain in detail how the crash happened or his play in it. Officer Brooks could be seen exchanging conversation with the occupant of the vehicle Scott had hit. She went on to ask for his license and insurance. Once the cop was done talking to the occupant, she went on to continue with Scott.
sorry, Birdie, he wants to record.
Clearly, Scott goofed up big time with the accident, coupled with the intoxication and him being her boss. But Officer Brooks, being smart, ran up the base real quick. She just wanted to double check if she could jump in and handle things or if the department might want to send someone else in.
Hey, this crash, Birdie, so come work it? Okay.
Man, it's pretty clear Scott's on something. The way he's mumbling and dragging totally seems he's had a bit too much of, well, something.
He's still in it or no?
Yeah, he's still in it.
Is he really?
So, Birdie,
Even though Scott's got that fancy rank, Brooks gotta handle him like any other person on the scene, especially with him maybe being a bit tipsy. And let's be real, when someone's had a few, you never know what they might pull. That can be pretty dicey for any cop. And for Brooke, being a woman, it adds another layer of trickery.
Back on channel 1,
It was obvious Scott was feeling stressed out, so he decided to light a cigarette for a smoke.
you know you can't.
After being told he couldn't consume anything, Scott went on to light a cigarette at the disapproval of the officer.
You can't consume anything.
After what seemed like hours of wait, another officer appeared, and now a sobriety test can be carried out and they could get to the bottom of this.
We're gonna go to the back of Sarge's car,
Okay.
because that's where my clipboard is.
Okay.
And that's where the most level ground.
By looking at the video, we can see clearly with no doubt that Scott was intoxicated, as he failed almost all the tests given him.
Because I'm not.
Judging by the overwhelming evidence, the officers thought it was safe to conclude that Scott was driving under the influence and it was time to put him in cuffs. I bet that really pissed him off.
So at this time, I'm asking you to come with me to this.
Scott was taken to the station for a breathalyzer. Despite Scott being one of the most polite suspects in this video, he was hit with a better sentence than the majority of other criminal cops. He was charged with DUI and property damage. He was ordered to pay a $1,000 fine, serve 50 hours of community service, and take multiple substance and DUI classes. He also had his driver's license suspended for 6 months. Scott was also sued by the driver of the vehicle he had hit, and an undisclosed cash settlement was reached. He was also suspended immediately and placed on administrative duty pending a state attorney investigation. He was given a one last chance agreement, meaning any slip off, he would be gone for good. I bet the suspect in this next case didn't get the same kind of deal.
Hello. How you doing? Reason I stopped you is you're right.
The suspect originally was pulled over by Officer J.T. Smith, a cop with the Gwinnett County due to a brake light being out. But little does the officer know that there may be a lot more Petra is hiding.
Reason I stopped you is your right brake light is out.
The suspect goes by the name of Petra Egerton, was pulled over due to her brake light being out. When the officer got closer to Petra's vehicle, he noticed the police badge on Petra.
Do you have your badge on you? Like your ID badge?
First, it may seem like this officer didn't recognize his colleague, but what's even more perplexing is seeing a supposed officer driving in a broken car.
Look, long story short, I just want to know who you work for.
Are you a police officer or are you not a police officer? The officer can be heard asking Egerton.
Right. So, are you a police officer or are you not a police officer?
Something feels off about the suspect, so the cop decides to investigate further. At this point, the brake light issue is at least of the cop's worries. It's difficult to know how an off-duty officer is supposed to act, but something about Petra is sending off major something's not right signals. Being all defensive, dodging questions any real cop would breeze through, we all know being defensive to a police officer screams guilty of something, just don't know what it is yet.
Okay. You see your license? What it has to do with is you told me you're a police officer or you're an officer for DCS.
It's also obvious that Petra doesn't seem to realize what she had done wrong. Just minutes before she had gone into the quick trip at Satellite Boulevard and Merchants Way, where she was seen presenting her badge and a gun to the cashier and then walked out with free food. It is fairly common for convenience stores in the area to give first responders free snacks. But if Petra isn't a police officer, then this isn't just a cop impersonation, it's theft.
I don't recognize you. What they got to do with me and where I work? Are you a police officer or you're not a police officer?
Since the cop isn't getting any information from Petra, he turns to the other passenger of the car and asks for her ID. That's when he decides to put a call through to the DCS, where she claims she's an officer, and his suspicions get confirmed.
Your badge and your gun on the side.
Okay.
Do you understand that? Supervisor?
After investigating further, both Petra, the actual cop in the passenger seat, Brandy Green, confess, admitting to everything. The cop wrote in his report that he pulled Petra over due to her vehicle's brake light being broken. Petra had said she worked with the Department of Community Supervision, but the gun and badge belonged to Brandy Green, who was the passenger in the vehicle. Green resigned from her job at the DCS following the incident. Petra was arrested and charged with a felony police impersonation, carrying a sentence of up to 5 years of prison time. She has since been released after posting a $4,146 bond. Cops Arresting Friends highlights the delicate balance between duty and personal bonds. Officers like us face challenges that test their human connections and relationships. Thanks for joining us today. Until next time, stay curious and always strive to understand the human stories behind the headlines.